I don't know that.
All of you watching this should have a high price on your time. I'm going to get into what I mean by that shortly. What I want you to first understand is that everybody in this world has a competitive advantage. The competitive advantage, this idea of having a competitive advantage was understood to me and brought to me from a book that I read. It started off with describing the richest man, the youngest billionaire in 2018. I believe it was 2018. This is the man that created Snapchat. His competitive advantages was one of many. First of all, he was a white American man born in a very wealthy family in California whose father was a lawyer. He understood a lot of social dynamics, men communicating, negotiating, adding value to your clients, things along those lines. He also went to a private school. A lot of celebrities that we're all very familiar with also attended. Competitive advantages are something that all of us have in our own individual ways. Excuse me. It's your job to acknowledge your competitive advantages and to make the best, make the most out of them, right? And there's a framework in this book. It's called the Miles Framework. It goes like this. And some people's competitive advantages is the money. Some people have deep pockets. If you have $500,000 or even $500 million to back up a venture, money is a competitive advantage you have. The second in the Miles Framework is I, which is intelligence. If you have a high level of intelligence as a competitive advantage going into your businesses, you as the CEO or the entrepreneur can use that. L is your location. Location is a huge competitive advantage that a lot of us may neglect. Location can be described as maybe growing up in the United States versus growing up in 1930s Germany, right? Location is a huge competitive advantage you should never neglect. E is education. Education is a competitive advantage that a lot of people, I believe, just isn't appreciated as much. The best way to think about education, in my opinion, is understanding the way things were gives you a good understanding of how things will be. Okay? History repeats itself in being educated, not just in history, but in the ability to communicate, in the ability to articulate, in the ability to go over text, learn from it, come up with your own processes, ideas, right? Being educated offers a huge competitive advantage that I don't want anybody to ever neglect. A lot of people complain on the education system saying that it's a scam, that they're enslaving you. No, that is 100% your choice what you do with your education. The point is, education is a huge competitive advantage. The last competitive advantage is S, status. Using status as a competitive advantage can be either a last name, maybe a heritage, being born into the royal family, being born with the last name Trump, okay, or even having an audience of people who support you and stand behind you. Status is a huge competitive advantage. This is what all of you to consider every single day. What I did is I built a list and said, what are my competitive advantages? Which ones am I strong in? Which ones am I lacking in? The ones that I'm lacking in, how am I lacking? How can I improve them, right? Another thing to do is to create a goal list. Say, how can I improve my money? How can I improve my intelligence? How can I improve my education? Just so you can build yourself up to have more competitive advantages. Now, over the past 4 hours, I locked myself in the bathroom with a pen and a journal, and I wrote down, how am I going to get rich? Right, now rich is subjective. How am I going to make money? First thing I did is I wrote down all of the ways in the past that I have made money. In this video, I'm going to go over all of those ways I made money in my past, how I can improve all the ways I'm currently making money, and the ways because I've made money in my past, and different calls to action with each one. One thing to consider that a lot of people will discuss is if you have 5 different cups or 5 different businesses, it's much better, to focus all of your attention, all of your energy on one specific business, rather than putting your energy between 5 different ones. I would argue that, like a lot of people say and agree, the first $100,000 not made but saved is the hardest money you'll ever make in your life. This is why I believe in building myself up through all of these different ventures until I can get 6 figures liquid. Then double down on what's working like nobody's business. To go over, we'll start with the first way I made money, which is a job. Right? I worked my very first job. I worked at Little Caesars. Currently, I'm working at Amazon. And how can I make more money at my job? Well, that's very simple. Increase my wages. Now, how can I increase my wages? Well, I can either work more hours or I can get paid more for the hours I work. In this video, we're not going to discuss the pros and cons of selling your time for money. We're going to talk about is how I can make more money in my current situation. Now, that's very easy. I already got promoted. Now I'm waiting for the right opportunity to accept my promotion. How can I set myself up for success in this promotion? Well, it's very simple. I need to understand and have a good detailed understanding on high-scale operations. One thought that has been plaguing me recently is the operational complexities that can naturally be attained from building a $10,000 business to building a $10 million business. The operational complexities is hard for me to even comprehend. Not just throughout the fact that you're running a 24/7 business. Ideally, your business is 24/7. I'm talking about customer acquisition 24/7, sales team 24/7, back-end fulfillment 24/7, marketing, things along those lines. Although you could argue there's different business models that may not need 24/7 structure. I'm talking about high-scale operational complexities, $10 million plus, okay? Maybe even $10 million a month plus. It is something I'm lacking in, having a good understanding, not just on experience, but just infrastructure understanding on high-scale operations. I need to learn more on that. I also want to be better at people management, understanding how to manage and how to lead. How you feel regarding specific words is all on you. I don't know if managing is a word that I feel comfortable with. Leading is a word I would feel much more better using. How can I lead people? How can I be a better leader? Not just do I need to understand operational complexities, I need to understand how I'm going to be a better leader. And I also want to have a better understanding on one-on-one communication. Right? So regarding one-on-one communication, this could be the idea of frames or setting intentions, understanding other people's intentions, setting yourself up correctly in different social scenarios. One book that comes to mind, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, is The Laws of Power. Okay. This is just an example. I'm sure there are better books out there regarding one-on-one communication. Another book regarding people management or leading is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Double down. I mean, go back, review that book, understand the concepts, principles that I can attribute that through my ability to lead my colleagues and co-workers. Regarding operational complexities, this is where I'm going to be doing a deep diving into books that can give me a better insight, or even podcasts, interviews with people that run high-scale operations, and even communicate with people that do work at my warehouse. How are they managing operations? How have they improved? What are some defects? Things along those lines. So one thing that came to mind that I want to read is Phil Knight's Shoe Dog. Okay, some call to actions regarding how I can make more money at my job. moving on. The second way I made money was buying and selling sneakers. Now, I don't have desire to keep buying and selling sneakers. I think margins are slim, and I think it is more of a hobby and an enjoyment rather than a scalable business model. Because of that, I thought, how can I still focus on selling sneakers in a scalable business? What I can do is build an e-commerce brand centered around babies, shoes, who is my audience, mothers, any in particular, all demographics, all cultures and ethnicities, specific age range, 25 to 42. So, baby products to women, in particular, mothers, in all ethnicities, specifically age 25 to 42. What products will I sell? Baby shoes, also, is a little secondary to that, right? Baby shoes. On top of that, baby clothes, baby costumes. One thing to consider, why I came up with an idea this way, is a lot of people talk about dropshipping, finding a winning product, finding a winning product, finding a winning product. It's true. If you're looking for a seasonal product to cash flow, find a winning product, milk the winning product, offer good customer service, also offer a good customer experience, move on. Regarding this, I want to build a company, I want to build a brand around this e-commerce model, okay? So I tackled it from finding a winning market. Don't find a winning audience, don't find a winning product, find a winning market. Work your way back from there. Reasons why I like this: I've sold baby products in the past. Most importantly, I like selling products to women. They're much more emotionally driven, which every time you pull out your card, it is an emotional purchase. You are buying on emotions. It's much more easier to sell to market to women. What are other ways why I like this? I think this is a good business that actually could add value to the world. I'm sure there are great competitors out there. Pampers, right? Products that mothers and women need. If I can build a good brand, a good experience, good quality products, selling shoes, clothing, costumes, other toys, cribs, gadgets, car seats, etc. to mothers, build a great reputation on this online e-commerce brand. That would be great. How can I set myself for success in this? Well, another idea that I had is selling access for the mothers, whether it's a subscription service or even like access to coaching, counseling, or even a group of mothers where they can all come together, maybe share photos of different things that they're using. I know there's trends, specific ways to wrap up your child, maybe even tips on diapers, things like that. Build a community and sell access to the community, right? It's another way, right? You can make money. Overwhelming idea of this entire video is ways to make more money. What's next? Options trading. The first thing that came to mind when I was thinking of options trading is, listen, if I cannot turn $5 to $10, there's no point in me turning $5,000 to $10,000, anything along those lines. Why this is important is because all of these right now, the first step is getting one, right? Proof of concepts. Although yes, I've made money with them in the past, in order to really double down and focus this amount of effort and energy to make this work, I'm gonna want proof of concept and proof like one. I need to get one. I also understood that the probability of me buying an options contract for $5 and selling it for $10 is very, very low. Market dictates price. And if the market values an options contract at $5, there's very low chance that the market is going to value that contract a week later, 5 days later, or 2 days later at 10. Unless I buy disgustingly low out of the money call or out of the money put, the stock moves a ridiculous amount, and there's a high chance the option may get in the money. It may move 100%. think I would have much better odds turning $50 to $75. It would be much more larger market for me to choose option contracts. And like I said, I think I would have much better odds in performing trades with that much capital. How can I set myself up? How can I set myself up for success when trading options? This is going to be very simple. Okay, I want to research and learn from the best options traders, not just currently in our time, but also in the past. What are the other guys that have done, and how do they approach the options market? And if there's any autobiographies or any podcasts that I can learn from these traders, investors, learn from them. Another thing is, I want to understand the options market based on external sentiment. So, boom and bust cycles, even the wave leading up to earnings seasons versus post-earnings seasons. Things along those lines. I want to understand good conditions to trade options versus conditions where it's not ideal to trade options. Specific markets you want to stay away from. Times of the year you want to stay focused on this one. For instance, maybe like a Q1 where they're reporting earnings from Q4 with expectations. Maybe a Q3 reporting expectations from Q4 in the retail e-commerce industry. Might prove fruitful. I want to understand markets, conditions, but also understand other options traders. What's the next one? Foreign exchange currency trading. I don't want to go over all of these. What I do want to say is, in my experience trading foreign exchange currencies, I stuck with the Great British Pound US dollar. I liked trading Great British Pound US dollar simply due to the fact that it was respectfully volatile during the European session and deliciously volatile during the United States session. What I want to do is instead focus on GJ. A lot of Forex traders trade GJ. Due to its volatility and I would assume predictability. Also, I have seen other traders compare GJ to other currency pairs when deciding which setup looks better. What I mean by setup is some patterns will present themselves much more, I would say, some people feel much more comfortable taking trades when a specific pattern presents itself in one market versus the same, slightly different pattern presents itself in a different market. I want to focus on GJ. What I want to do is turn $60 into $70 over a month. I think that will be extremely realistic. It will be about a 12% return. And how am I going to set myself up for success with this? Because listen, if you cannot make money in the little game, you're not going to make. If I had 6,000, I wanted to turn it to 7,000. It would not be a good. It's very stressful, I would argue, trading capital, especially when you're going in blind without a plan. Alright, I'm sure we can all agree with that fact. Going in blind without a plan, trading a high amount of capital, can be stressful. So I want to show proof of concept and pay down my ignorance. I've taken a handful of trades in the GJ pair, and I want to understand how it moves, fake outs, patterns, things along those lines that I feel very comfortable with, that I know in the Great British Pound USD, that I want to attribute to Great British Pound JPY. So I want to trade to 60, turn it to 70, 12% return in 1 month, proof of concept. Then we can scale it up, add a 0, 600 to 700. Scale that up, 3,000. I'll be able to trade with around a lot, depending on how much leverage I'm using. I'll be able to trade with one lot. Okay. Stock market trading. I've made a lot of money in the stock market in my past, and I'm wanting to know how can I do the same now. Well, being a day trader isn't ideal for my current lifestyle. We can make any excuse we want. What I want to do is focus in on swing trading. I think swing trading is much more suitable for my current lifestyle. My plan is to choose 3 companies. Now, one company may be a needle in a haystack. The other companies may be, Adobe, Nvidia, Amazon, right? The point is choose 3 companies and do my damn research on these companies. I want to understand 2 years earnings statements, but 5 years of earnings statements would be much more appropriate. I want to understand how the company navigated 2018, 2019, how they navigated 2020 during the pandemic and the lockdown, how they navigated 2021, 2022, and 2023 regarding fluctuating interest rates, currency pairs, regarding supply constraints, increased labor costs, layoffs, all of these things. I want to understand the company that I'm putting my money into. I also want to understand macroeconomic cycles regarding specific business industries, so whether it's retail, whether it's government software, whether that's real estate, whether it's Toll Brothers, or even a REIT. I'm not going to invest my money into a REIT initially. I want to understand macro cycles based on the world scale, so I can say I want to invest my money in this company at this specific time for this specific reason. Right? Like LVMH, we'll have to take a look at the company, see how things are. I wouldn't want to put my money in LVMH at a specific time right now versus a company like, I was about to say firm, I'm going to hold my tongue. I haven't seen the company, I haven't seen how they've been performing these past couple of quarters. The point is, I believe some companies perform much better than other companies based on the economic trend at a macro level. Regarding a micro level, I want to pay attention to government legislation, economic events on a national scale based on Silicon Valley Bank, bankruptcy, bank run, or Bank of America having $100+ billion of unrealized gains, unrealized losses, and losing 10% in a week. Things like these I want to understand, pay attention to when it comes to putting my money in specific companies. I also want to be able to understand capital spreadsheets. I want to be able to look at a balance sheet from yesterday or a balance sheet from 50 years ago and be able to confidently distinguish the difference between accounts payables, rent, profits, dividends, all of these. I need to be able to read balance sheets without any as if it was a walk in the park. This is really all I want to go through in this video. What you should take away from this video is you want to make more money. Think, not just what is money, okay? Deal with that when you get it. Think, what are the different ways I can make money, right? Obviously, you're going to want to know the entry level of what money is, where it comes from, equity, leveraging your money. Be comfortable and familiar with these concepts. Also be aware of valuations, different currencies, Singapore dollar versus Canadian dollar versus Iraqi dinar. So many different currencies. It's very important to understand. But most importantly, just think, how am I going to make more money, okay? You can sell your time, you can sell a product, you can sell a service, you can sell information, you can make your own money, make you more money. Think about your past. How did you make $5 that one day? How did you make $5,000 that one year? How did you make $50,000 extra that year? Think, how did I make more money? And what can I do now to make more money? Be aware of leverage. Be aware of time constraints. Be aware of your mental bandwidth. Be aware of your competitive advantages. Set smart goals Don't plan for outputs, plan for inputs and work. You're probably wondering what I meant when I described having a high price on your time. This is a very important ideology you should always attribute when it comes to managing your time. The way you can think about this is, when I heard this idea, the first number that came to mind was 7,000. I'll tell you how I got that number very soon. What you need to do is say, if my time was worth X, what would I do? Okay, so we'll say your time, we'll use me as an example. Right now, in this exact moment of time, I value myself at $1,300 an hour. How I got that number? I told you we'll go over that shortly. It's important to understand with this entire concept in general is you take a girl out on a date. It's gonna cost you $100, maybe $3 of gas, and it's also gonna cost you $1,300 of your time, okay? You want to go out to a movie with your family or a movie with your friends. It's gonna cost you $50. It's also gonna cost you $1,300 of your time. Having a high price on your time will help you differentiate between, do I want to do this? And it will give you a good, compelling reason on why not. And if you have high aspirations for your future, this is where I want to be in 5 years, this is where I want to be in 30 years, then put a high price on your time and get to work. Now, I can do some quick math right now. Going over how I came up with the price on my time. And I'll just actually make this very ideal for my current situation. I would want nothing more in life than to turn over $70 million in a single year. And what's really interesting is, first of all, there's levels to the game. So, have I turned over 7,000? Yes. Have I turned over 70,000? Yes. 700,000? No. 7 million? No. 70 million? No. But let's go with that, right? 70 million is what I want. $70 million top line turnover in a year. And let's say I work 6 days a week at 13 hours a day work. So we'll just go 13 hours, times that by 6 days, 78 hours a week. We'll times that by the 54 weeks in a year. 4,200. I don't think my math is right. 70 million divided by 4,200 is around $17,000 an hour. Okay? If you got to this video this far, I hope you've done the math. Because there is a lot of men in this world that are turning over tens of billions of dollars a year. Top line, take home is irrelevant. When you have equity and you can pull out loans and you can leverage your money, take home is irrelevant. There are people in this world turning over billions, tens of billions of dollars. There are companies in this world that are turning over billions, hundreds of billions, or even 10 billion, hundreds of billions a year, okay? Numbers and quantifying numbers based on an internal value is subjective. A really good example of that is when a very good trader put $100 down on the table and he said, well, what's that to you? What can you get with that? Okay, point is, $100 to one man is not $100 to another man. $1,000 to one man is not the $1,000 to another man. Value is subjective. So you need to put a price on your time, and don't listen to either internal conflicts you may have with, wow, that's not realistic. Realistic. All right. put a high price on your time. You just did the math with me. $70 million a year at around a 4,200 hour a year working. 4,200 hours a year. I told you something was a little fishy about my math. I'm going to redo it once more. If I'm working 13 hours a day, 6 days a week, 78 hours a week, I want to actually be a little more extreme. We'll say 15 hours a day. We'll go extreme. 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's about 105 hours a week. Say 105, that was 54. Or maybe 52 weeks in a year. That's 5,600 hours a year. 70 million. $70 million divided by, I believe it was 56. It's about $12,000 an hour. Okay. Moral of this example is put a high price on your time and learn how to say no based on those internal justifications. Okay? Say no, put a high price on your time, understand competitive advantages, and work hard. Remember, greatness is a choice.